So we do have the core of our app working here. So the next thing we need to do is, of course, just to make it a little bit beautiful here. So now this is the time when you can actually relax a little bit and take it on as a challenge if you wish to do so, right? So because the user interface, it's usually something more of a preference for the most part. So let's go ahead and beautify this thing. So back to our project, let's go ahead and work a little bit on our flat icon button here real quick. Let's go ahead and give our button nice, decent colors. I'm going to say color. I'm going to go and get colors. And how about green accent and give it a shade of about 700. Okay, save that. Like that, we've saved and life is good. And you notice we have issues here depending on how our text or quote is growing, how many words are in our text. We have some movement that is not very helpful, right? Because we have to kind of follow our button. How do we change that? We'll change in a second. And how about add a little bit of styling to our label? I'm going to say style because it's just a text anyway, so we can style it. It's going to be text style. And in this case, I'm just going to add a color to be white. Okay, I think that's probably better. And voila, looks much better. And if I want it, I can actually say size or font size 18.8. Okay, a little bit bigger. That's better. That's good, at least for us to be able to see. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to wrap the entire button inside of a padding. So you can do that easily. That's the beauty here, right? We can actually wrap things around. And in this case here, notice now we have these edge insets to all, but I want to only have the top padding. You will see why in a minute. So I'm going to say only, and I'm going to say top, and I want this to be about 18 like that. You can see now we have this nice padding there. Next, I'm going to add a divider here that will give us that very nice line to spice things up a little bit. So for our divider, we can actually add thickness, the height, and so forth. So let's look at thickness. Thickness is how thick the divider is. So I can say 2.3. I'm going to have to put a comma here to separate our widgets. And you can see that's pretty thick, isn't it? So I can maybe dial it down a little bit. And there it is. Looks very nice. Okay. Small things that make our application way, way better. Okay, let's continue there. Now we're going to work on our text, the way things are being rendered. So let's go ahead and center our text here. So click there and say center. The moment you do that, save. And now you know everything is centered. That's very good. And you notice now the movement of our button goes up and down only because this is always in the middle. So that is good improvement there. And we can also wrap it all around a container if we wish to do so. So I'm going to do that just to show you. So now that it's inside of a container, there's some things we can do. So let me give myself some space here so I can start adding things to our container. Well, the first thing I can add is a width, right? And I can say I want the width of this container to be 350 and the height to be about 200. And I can beautify our container as you saw before. But before that, I can also add a margin. I'm going to say edge insets. And I'm going to make it all, give an overall margin of 30.0. And I can pass a decoration. Remember, decoration. I'm going to pass a box decoration there. And I can say the color to be, let's say, green accent. If I save this, all of a sudden we have this very nice card there. So it's giving something. But for now, I'm going to actually go and invoke the transparent because I want to just make it so it's white. Okay, but you know that you can change the color to your liking. And how about adding a border radius? So I'm going to say border radius. Put a border radius as such. I want circular. Let's see, circular. If I can type, of course. And I'm going to say I want about 14.5. Now this, of course, only works if you put a color, right? So if you see like this, you can see there it's very beautiful. Next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to add this container here inside of an expanded widget. An expanded widget allows us to expand this whole widget so that it takes as much space as it needs to take. So I'm going to go like this. I don't think we have expanded here, but we can wrap with a new widget as it says there. I'm going to say expanded as such. If you save this, you can see now that it expanded all the way to the top, which is not necessarily desirable because our Inspire now is at the bottom. But let's keep that and keep changing a few things here before we get rid of that. totally. What we can also do, notice that we can always wrap other widgets inside of other widgets. So I can actually add this into a center. Now I'm overdoing certain things here because I just want to show you the things you can do. Notice the moment you put that inside of a center, and then our problem is gone because now everything is in the middle, even though everything is expanded. Okay, so notice the card now is right there in the middle. Let's say we want to actually move this. Actually, we want to move the entire screen or all of these widgets a little bit to the top. We can actually use another widget at the bottom. So we have our padding there, which includes our flat button. Right outside our flat button, I'm going to put a comma because remember we're still inside of a list. I'm going to say spacer. The cool thing about spacer is that we can actually pass a few things. We can pass the flex, right? So if we add, the bigger the flex number is, the more space we put at the bottom. So if I just leave spacer as this, and you can notice that everything now went up, just like we would want. Whenever you want to push things up a little bit, you just put a spacer at the bottom. If we wanted to put another spacer at the top, that could also happen. But in this case, this is what we want. And notice, voila, now pushed everything up because we gave a space at the bottom. The next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that this text inside is actually centered as well. How to do that? Well, we go to our text. So inside of our text, I'm going to say style, put a text style, and I'm going to give a color first of all, and I'm going to say I want the color to be gray, a nice gray, of course. Let's say gray as such, and I want to give a shade of about 600. Okay, let's save this. And there it is. Now I don't like this color, of course, because I just want to show you. So I'm going to go back and just say transparent here. Very nice. And as we are here in our text style, I'm going to give a font style. So font, italic. And I'm going to give a font size of about, let's say 16.6 or 5. That's good. And very nice, looks much, much better. And you can see here, our app is pretty much done, right? We have a nice button there, and we even had an icon there. And as we click Inspire Me, we have all these inspirational quotes that are showing there. The main idea here was to show you how easy it is to attach a set state or to add a state to our application, which is very important, as you see, because without it, we are pretty much not going to be able to do anything or update, or in this case, have a more dynamic application. All we have to do is set state. Actually, the first thing we have to do is make sure that we indeed have a stateful widget. That is very important. And then make sure that whatever we want to keep track of its state, we need to put inside of a set state. So, okay, that is very, very important. Okay, so now you have a full-fledged application here, a very simplistic one, however, a strong start on understanding stateful widgets. What I want you to do is to make this a little bit better. Maybe add more quotes here, or maybe you have another idea for a quick, simple application. Okay, you go ahead and improve this application to your liking, maybe the user interface, but I want you to exercise a little bit more on the set state and see how all that works. It should be fairly simple as long as you understand that we have to be inside of a stateful widget for this to work. Congratulations. I'll see you next.